Do you know the biggest complaint married women have about their husband? One of the complaints is he doesn't leave the house. He doesn't get out. He doesn't have friends and socialize. And she's saying, I'm always encouraging him, pushing him to get out of the house. Now, if you find yourself being isolated, working from home, doing everything from home after the COVID, and you just find yourself that you haven't got a lot of guy friends to hang out with, your social circle is really non-existent. Well, this podcast is for you because we're going to share some of the things that you can do to, improve your social life, get out there, make some new friends, and why it's important. Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. I'm joined with Ari and Chuck, and we are Nice Guy Syndrome Recovery Specialists. Guys, I want to share some incredible facts with you. Harvard study, almost 80 years old now, has it proved that community helps us live longer and be happy. It's one of the longest studies conducted, started in 1938 during the Great Depression. It included 268 adults looking at their physical and their mental health. Right? Scientists eventually expanded the research to include the men's offspring, now a number of 1,300 other individuals. And what the researchers found was the surprising finding is that our relationships and how happy we are in our relationships has a powerful influence on our health. So taking care of your body is important, but tending to your relationship is a form of self-care too. That I think is a revelation. So it's amazing that how relationships are important to our wellness, especially in the modern days when most people are working from home. And those who are not working from home, what they do is they sit in front of the telly, binge watching on Netflix. Now, Ari, how's your social life and what was it like at its worst moments?
I just loved when you said sitting in front of the telly.
Why?
Because we don't call it telly, we call it TV.
Yeah.
Oh, you call
Isn't
it TV.
in the UK didn't they create like a department of loneliness? Isn't that part of the government now? With
Is
the
it?
government is addressing the loneliness issue? Okay. Look that up.
Yeah,
Is it on the telly?
it's on the telly.
I saw it on the telly, yes. But that's what governments are doing that now. They're seeing it as a public health issue to deal with loneliness and isolation. So I think there's a growing understanding that this is a health and mental health issue. Um, but that still what I'm seeing is people are isolated, and I've struggled with this too. I mean, I would say that I have a good professional network, although it's mainly virtual. My, I have really good friends. What I haven't had is good single friends. So as a divorced nice guy, it really changes your social life. And I was one of those guys who farmed out my social life to my wife when I was married. So I really kind of let those skills languish. So then all of a sudden, once I'm divorced, um, I hadn't made new friends myself in years. And I still have good married friends, but they have a different life than me. They pretty much like to stay home. They like to be with their kids. So, I can, I can see them one on one, maybe have dinner with them, or we can have a play date with our kids. But it's not the kind of fun social life that I want as a single person now. So that's what I've really had to work on. And one of the mistakes that I made post divorce was just getting really focused on dating. So while that was helpful for me in some ways, again, I wasn't putting much time and energy into building friendships like with other men. So in the past year or two, it's just dawned on me, I have to put in probably just as much time and energy to making friends with other men and building out that social life that I want as I did with dating. So I've kind of pressed the brake a little bit with dating and put a lot more time and energy into building friendships with other men. So I would say my social life is getting better. It's not everything I want it to be. I've just recently acquired kind of the consciousness of what do I need to do to really build it to a more ideal social life.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you raised some really good points on that, about social life, and you kind of outsourced it to your wife. And I think a lot of nice guys do that. They're really dependent on, their partner bringing all that social, dynamics to to their life and the relationship as well. Chuck, now you've been married, and you're in a marriage at the moment. At the moment, I start talking
At the
Greek.
moment. Could change at
For
any
now.
moment, but yes.
So, Chuck, what's your social life like as a married man?
Yeah, I think it's I would say it is everything that I want it to be right now, given how much time and energy. I think that's the thing of like, you have to actually put energy into creating a social life. And we have 4 other couples that we get together with occasionally. Like, for example, we're going, the four couples are going to Las Vegas at the end of June for a long weekend, and we've done other things like that. One of the guys that's in our group is my best friend Michael, who he and I get together regularly, at least on the weekend we get together for coffee or something like that. Just got together yesterday morning. So I work at developing and creating and maintaining these relationships because I know they're good for me. The tendency is to be like, I just want to do nothing. I just want to, sit around all weekend and just kind of recoup from the busyness of the week. I definitely don't want to go out in the middle of the week. So it's a thing of where you're constantly kind of in this battle between trying to make efforts because that's good for you. So I don't think it's unlike any other kind of thing. It's like, exercise is good for you. There's a resistance to doing it. Once you've done it, it feels good. But I think it's a conscious decision of, I'm going to create community around me. And some people find that in church. Some people can find that in classes that they take or meetup groups, those kind of things. But I think
Yeah.
the important thing is that you do have community, and it's something that you have to develop and maintain.
It's so true. When you mentioned about, it takes effort. I bet you most guys will probably make more of an effort trying to find out the latest iPhone or the latest gadget and doing some spending. I remember when you were buying a printer, you were spending 4 hours doing some research on this.
Right.
Buying a printer, then we would do spending time investing on relationship, friendships. And I remember speaking to my ex-wife, and she was really good at connecting to people and nurturing those connections. Women are usually, I mean, in my experience, I find, like my sister, a great socializer. She's always out with her friends. Lunchtime they're going out they're always doing something. And I remember my ex-wife, she said something to me. She said, you need to get out the house more. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm doing everything, with you guys, with the kids. And she said, you need to do something for yourself. And she said, I'm like, yeah, but if I text my friends, no one gets back to me, nothing really happens, nothing gets organized. You really have to build a bridge. And she said, what are you doing is you're waiting for everybody else to come to you. You're waiting for everybody else to organize something. And as soon as there's a little bit of resistance, nothing happens. And what I learned was that, here, what I was doing was I wasn't leading here. And that's what a lot of guys I notice, that a lot of nice guys, they don't lead here. They don't make the effort. They don't extend themselves enough. And after my divorce, I remember, finding myself really lonely on my own, no kids around, and it was really quiet. And then I said, I'm gonna dedicate myself to building a social life, right? Really dedicate myself. Not I want to social life, because when you want something, you find excuses. When you're committed, right, you find solutions. That's a big difference I learned, is when I want something, I'll find excuses not to do it eventually. But when I'm committed, all I look find is solutions. And I dedicated myself 2 years going out 4 times a week. And there were many times I went out by myself, and there were many hurdles. What I learned was, and I don't know if you guys can relate to this or not, I wasn't very good at making good friends easily. I'd be very dependent on them to make a lot of effort. Did you guys find that?
Definitely. Yeah, I think that was one of the things. I think, we talk about doing something consciously or this is that nice guys will kind of get into the little, victim mode of, I'm the only one that's reaching out. I'm the only one that's asking people if they want to go out. I'm the only one that, nobody gets back to me, and that kind of thing. And we get in that little victim state. And the truth is like, that's because you're a leader. As a man, you're a leader, and you have to lead and set these things up. Women are really great at connecting, because they're a little bit more reciprocal. But I think as guys, we have to break free from this idea that I'm the only one that's, making the effort here, and get into that mode of like, no, I'm just going to lead this. And I think that's where, for me, that was when my social life started picking up, was when I made the decision that I'm going to lead in creating this community. It's less about like, oh, I'm going to find a community that I can become a part of so that I can just sit back passively and take. It's like, I'm going to create my own community and handpick the people that I want in, and then work on developing those relationships. And then after a while, those people are like, yeah, this is great. Let's do it again. And so I would just say, great, get your calendar out. You have to be proactive about this. And often you guys probably run into this kind of thing. You see somebody you haven't seen in a long time at the grocery store or something like that, and you have a little bit of a chat, and then you're like, hey man, we should get together. And you're like, yeah, let's get together. I'll give you a call, and then there's no call in another, 6 months, a year
There's no
goes by.
follow-up, is it? Yeah.
There's no follow-up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's why if I'm at a, if I meet somebody like, yeah, we should get this for coffee, I'm like, get your calendar out. Let's set it up right now.
That's good. Sets a tone, right?
If you don't do it, if you don't set it up, it's not going to happen.
It's interesting, as we talk about this, like the idea of having a great social life, I think is appealing to most people, but the idea of making new friends as a man, as an adult man, there's a real stigma attached to that. Like, as if it seems like something that kids have to do, is make friends. And if you're an adult man, you shouldn't be still making friends anymore. Like, there's a self-consciousness about that. Like, I feel like a little strange sometimes saying, I'm still making friends in my 40s. Like, but that's the truth. Like, but I've had to kind of just own that I don't have all the relationships that I want in my life, and that I'm still making friends. And I'm still working on the skills to develop friendships. I was thinking about it, like, a lot of the dating skills that we help men with, it's very similar with the building friendship skills. It's putting yourself in situations where you can meet new people, expanding your range. It's being open to people who might not be on your radar. It's starting conversations. It's accepting rejection. It's walking through open doors. It's testing for interest. All of these things are necessary for building friendships, and they're all skills that one has to develop in oneself, and we're not necessarily taught these.
We have to
I'm
get
glad.
over our that fear of rejection. It's the same thing. And Ari, like you were talking about just in our last podcast about how relationships are organisms. So it's a similar kind of thing when creating new friends. You got to plant the seed, water the seed, tend to the seed, watch it grow, and develop. These things develop over a period of time. And you have to be like, my best friend, Michael, I was, consciously, it was like, hey, he was a friend of my wife's friend. He was a husband to my wife's friend. And I thought he was kind of a cool guy. So I was like, hey, you want to go out to coffee sometime? And I set it up. Let's get your calendar out. And then we went out. We had a great conversation. And then I said, I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of friends right now. And I know that relationships are something I have to be really conscious about. What do you say we get together, And he's like, yeah, I would love that. Let's do it. Let's plan it. And so we started meeting every Saturday morning. We get together for coffee, and we've been doing it now for, 7-8 years. And that was a result of me saying, do you want to be friends? Which is kind of like what you do when you're a little kid. That's how you make friends. You see somebody on the playground and you're like, do you want to be friends? And then they say yes. And then you're friends,
That takes a lot of courage, as you
That's
pointed
what
out,
the same
Ari.
thing I was thinking. That takes balls to do. Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm the
because
only person on the planet responsible for my needs, wants, and happiness. So if I don't have friends, I'm responsible for creating that, which is what an integrated man does. He doesn't sit around and wait for somebody to, come along and, pick him out. I heard this thing of like, the only reason introverts have friends is because an extrovert adopted them. It's kind of true. Like if we're just sitting around waiting for somebody to come along, you're going to get picked by somebody who's a leader, and then you're going to be a follower your entire life.
So are you guys, any of you guys, introverts or shy or anything like that? Well, let's go around. Chuck, are you an introvert or an
Very,
extrovert?
very introverted. I would call myself an ambivert, in that naturally I'm an introvert, but I've learned skills to assert myself into situations. So I would say from a natural standpoint, that's not my natural tendency, but it is a skill. And I've developed that to a point now where I can be comfortable and confident and assert myself in pretty much any situation. But
Like that.
wasn't always the case.
Comfortable in your own skin, and also, being assertive. What about you, Ari? Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm shy. I would say I am an introvert, but I like to be social. And I've had to work on it. So I think I really need that social time to feel filled up, and I need my downtime. So I'm not sure if that makes me an ambivert or not.
Dualvert. There you go. That's another word. I'm exactly the same as you guys. I'm extremely shy, and I've been working on my shyness. I mean, now, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of effort, because if you invite me, I remember we in my previous job would have launches and would have work dues where everybody would be a stranger. So we would turn up, and I would stand in the corner by myself, waiting for the staff to come and introduce me to everybody else. And I was watching everybody else. They just walk in, strangers, and they just start conversations. I'm like, how are they doing that? It just seemed so alienated to me. And like you said, Ari, and like you said, Chuck, as well, it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice to initiate, lead, and build. And I think this is what a lot of guys forget, is that their avoidance shows up in their friendships, not just in their relationship, but the avoidance pattern shows up in their kind of like a lot of connections and relationships. Guys, it's been a pleasure talking about social, and here's the thing. I want to leave you with one, message is where to meet people, where to hang up. That's not the problem, because all you need is Google. You can go on. There's lots of places to meet, but what you have to do is really want commit to that. Really saying, right, I'm going to commit to building a social life. I'm going to commit to going out once a week minimum. Even if you go and sit in a cafe or shop or something. I know guys that I'm helping with dating. They don't even leave the house, and I'm saying, how are you going to build a connection? And women really value men who are good at socializing. You don't have to be the center of the attention, but you have to be able to relate and connect, because that for her makes her feel a lot safer. And that also is an appealing thing about a man. So social skills is an incredibly important part, especially when you're out there dating as well. Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast, I want you to check out podcast number 62, Why You Won't Be Successful Without a Men's Group. Now, it's a perfect way to build some connections, make some friends with other men as well. Again, thank you for being part of the Nice Guy Show. If you like this one as well, please remember to subscribe and like and comment. We'll see you on the next one.
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show with certified Nice Guy recovery coaches Ari Graff, Chuck Chapman, and Faisal Khokhar. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can listen to our latest episodes, and visit us on www.theniceguyshow.com. If you have any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, send us an email at support@theniceguyshow.com. Thanks for listening.